how's everybody doing? Saturday, March 14th. Getting some nice weather here in southeast Michigan. And so, kind of, what is everybody thinking about the COVID-19 outbreak that started in China, mutated from, a closely related virus, I believe, from an animal, and jumped over to humans. So, just thought we'd put it, I wonder if us in agriculture, we understand some of this in a little bit different perspective than the general non-agricultural population, particularly those of us that have livestock. We've been dealing with infectious diseases and outbreaks like this, at least in my region of the country, in recent years quite often. We had a recent swine flu epidemic here in Michigan. All the farms were quarantined, no hogs at county fairs. A couple years ago, we had an avian flu outbreak. No chickens at the county fairs the kids could show. Again, massive quarantine. We're always continuously concerned about biosecurity with our livestock herds. How many of us like to have a closed herd, especially like us cattle producers? We try to maybe limit where, don't go to the auction, buy cattle, this and that. We don't want any respiratory diseases or any type of special viruses coming into our farm that we can't get rid of. So we're always terrified of that. And, up until recent history, I think the human population was always terrified of that as well. 1918, there was an avian type flu epidemic that broke out, and it killed 50 million people. Now, I don't know if it killed that many people because there wasn't the advancements in medical technology that we have today. And there again, humans used to die quite often from plagues and pandemics. Now we have short-lived pandemics, though, in recent years. SARS, I think there was MRSA or something like that. We've had Ebola. We also have HIV. We had, and I had to look up the swine flu in the U.S. several years back. I didn't realize it had killed over 12,000 Americans. I did not realize that. And then we have your standard flus that we have, different varieties of seasonal flus yearly. And, and they kill thousands or tens of thousands of Americans a year. So, but this pandemic seems to be something special. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but, those of us in agriculture, we understand a lot of times what creates a spread of a disease. We know that a lot of density dependent factors, unsanitary environments, things like that, allow cross-contamination and provide these vectors for spread of deadly diseases. And that's why a lot of these viruses that jump from animals to people, they happen in densely populated areas, generally, where people are living in close proximity with their livestock, and maybe a little bit too close. And maybe there's not the advancements in medical technology, and that advancements in medical technology is a lot what, a lot of us that are in the livestock industry rely on for safety and sanitation of our livestock, for the health of them as well as ourselves. And in modern times, this has allowed humans to flourish and not be so afraid of these deadly pandemics that haunted, previous generations. And that, they are generally density dependent diseases. There's probably a reason why they start in areas that are densely populated. They have the ability to mutate and then find a host opportunistically to jump to and then spread around the world in no time at all. So, and probably that was the main thing that limited human existence for thousands of years, were diseases, besides starvation, getting a good enough food supply. And so we've been able to, with recent advancements in technology, move beyond that. But we're still not immune from that. And I think a lot of us in agriculture, we know that. We know that as the world population increases, there are going to be new, probably, I would suspect, an increase in these viruses jumping ship and crossing species, mutating, finding host, and spreading. It's just the laws of probability. And I would guess that ecologists have known this for a long time, that this is pretty predictable. And but it is interesting that this is, in my lifetime, the most I can remember something making this large of an impression on our society of a type of pandemic. Like, I guess I wasn't really paying attention during this, the swine flu, and now I'm paying attention because I see people in my community are very alarmed about it. I know, and this was really affecting the economy. I mean, I know people in different industries, particularly the airline industry. I know some people lost some job interviews, lost chances for getting new jobs. I haven't heard of anybody losing their jobs yet or anything like that. But I think from an agricultural and an ecological perspective, those of us in agriculture were quite in tune to the environment, and we know that these pandemics are common, that there is a quarantine process. Some of these pandemics and viruses eventually do self-limit themselves in the environment. Either the climate or the quarantining works or certain biological controls, or some of these viruses just run their course and become less aggressive and attenuate through time. We know that. Anyways, I'm just babbling at this point, so I would love to hear some comments from my agricultural family out there on YouTube, and let's just keep it all fun and organized. And thanks for tuning in, guys. Talk to you later, and gals.